Hey, welcome back everybody to another week of Battlebots Fight Predictions. This week is a little different. For New Year's, Battlebots skipped their episode this week. We're picking back up next Thursday. But there are predictions to be made because on Monday on the new Discovery Plus app, they are starting a separate but kind of filmed in the same tournament series of Battlebots Bounty Hunters. So the idea here, to me, is like, an old video game where you're just fighting up through the levels and then you get to a boss battle and the boss is just a crazy, famous character or something. So we have a mini tournament bracket. I kind of wonder if this is meant to replace the Desperado since we have the round of 32 this year, not the round of 16. It seems like maybe the Desperado is not going to happen as it has previously, and that this may be like kind of replacing that fun in the middle of the tournament. So we have a mini bracket all coming together for a fight. So basically you have to go through 3 fights and win all 3 fights and then get to go up against a quote-unquote legendary robot. So for this first one we're covering, the legendary robot is Bronco. And we have Axolotl, Rotator, Captain Shrederator, Sharko, MadCatter, Adam94, Bale Spear, although Battlebots wrote Bale Spur on here. I don't know if they changed your name or what. And then Chomp. So, yeah, this, I guess, isn't a Desperado tournament because some of these bots, at least from what we've seen so far, I don't know when in the filming this was done, or maybe it was after the whole tournament, who knows. But, like, MadCatter, I wouldn't really expect to be here if it was a Desperado kind of thing. Same with Rotator. But, other bots, it does make sense. But maybe it's just, whatever. I guess there was a big prize at the end of it. I forget what the cash prize was or whatever it is, but it seems like a cool idea. I'm very curious how it's going to go because we've seen this season so far, a lot of people's first fights have some issues. Even with experienced bots, they kind of run into some dumb problems. So, maybe even though you have to win 3 and then go in against a legend, maybe that legend could have some of those same teething issues in their first and only fight. The other interesting thing here is that we are seeing 2 bots in this that we so far have not seen in the regular season. So Axolotl up in the top left there, we have not yet seen this season. As far as I know, it's a brand new bot, so really don't know too much about it. And then in the bottom, second from the bottom on the right, we have Bale Spear, who we haven't seen show up, but is a returning bot, though heavily redesigned for this season. So yeah, I'm going to go through the fights here. First of all, Axolotl versus Rotator. As I already said, I don't know much about Axolotl. It doesn't look like the scariest bot I've ever seen. Mostly those forks seem like, I don't know, they're kind of weird. I honestly see them being more of a liability than they are a help. The weapon doesn't look particularly big or scary. And we know what Rotator can do. Rotator seems to just get better and better as the seasons go on. So I am going to give this one to Rotator. I think it has a distinct advantage here. But I am very curious to see what Axolotl is capable of and what it will do. Yeah, moving down to their piece in that bracket, we have Captain Shrederator versus Sharko. I really think this is Captain Shrederator's fight to lose. I'm really excited that, Brian's saying that he can make this bot like it was in the early 2000s. And I know that's not 100% this case because, even though Perfect Phoenix looks like it's using deep hack motors, I know that's what the old Captain Shrederator ran, and they really don't exist anymore. I blame Casey from Poison Arrow / Copperhead for wrecking a ton of them in his old middleweight. But, yeah. So I know it's running, I think it's like mag motors or something from what I remember. But if he really is getting it to go back to that primitive tech and he fixes that braking issue, I'm super excited to see what Shrederator can do. And if it is running the way it's supposed to run, I think Sharko is a great opportunity for him to show the power of Shrederator. Flipping over to the other side of the brackets, we have MadCatter versus Adam94. Like I said a little earlier, MadCatter kind of surprised me they would enter this, so I'm guessing maybe it was either later in the tournament or after the real normal tournament, because so far from what we've seen, they've been, maybe dominating is not the right word, but they've been doing very, very well, and, they have a very promising looking season right now. Adam 94, kind of the opposite. We've only seen one fight of theirs, and they did not do anything super spectacular against Big Dill. Now, once again, first fight we've seen of them, they could have pulled out the stops, they could have made some fixes. But based on what we've seen so far, I am going to give this one to MadCatter. And then Bale Spear versus Chomp. This is the only one that I really was unsure of looking at this bracket. But I think Bale Spear is the right kind of robot for Chomp to fight. It's not a particularly wedgy wedge. It's got a lot of, it has an angled piece in the front, but it's relatively flat. Actually, all the bots on this side of the bracket have pretty nice flat tops for Chomp to hit. I hate to say that's intentional, but it feels intentional. But yeah, so I'm going to give this one to Chomp. But I wouldn't be surprised to see it go the other way. I just don't know enough about Bale Spear at this point to really say much more, and Chomp is at least a somewhat known quantity at this time. So flipping back over, we have Rotator versus Shrederator. I like how that sounds. This one is going to be explosive one way or another. It may just be one hit, but yeah, I'm gonna put my money on Rotator for this one. Rotator just has more tricks. Full body spinner, you can kind of just do one thing, which is spin the full body of the robot. And yeah, I don't know. I think Shrederator is going to have some trouble taking on Rotator, and Rotator is going to, probably bring out the wedgelets or something, or maybe some other attachment we haven't seen yet, and stop Shrederator's shell and then just go to town on it. Back on the right side of the bracket, Chomp versus MadCatter. I'm going to give it to MadCatter. From what we've seen, MadCatter's done particularly well, as I mentioned before. I don't know if that vertical spinner, if that is the option they go for, is going to do a lot to actually pop Chomp up in the air. You're hitting a robot twice as heavy. It's like the opposite of that uppercut versus Gemini fight. Instead of hitting a bot half the weight of what you normally hit, you're hitting a bot twice the weight of what you normally hit. And MadCatter's spinner is definitely no uppercut level, but it is, it's strong, but obviously, they have a lifter on top of things. So, it's not as heavy and brutal as a spinner's uppercut, but for a lot of reasons. But I think MadCatter's got maneuverability they can use. They can definitely, hit that skirt on Chomp, maybe get to the legs. I don't know. The lifting arm, I can't see being strong enough to lift 500 pounds, but you never know. They could surprise me. I really don't know what they have running that thing. But yeah, I'm not saying it's going to be easy for MadCatter, but I think they're going to pull out a win here. But it may be a win of little teeny tiny points. And saying that, going to the judges, who knows if it even goes that way. So Rotator versus MadCatter, I have to give this one to Rotator. I don't know. That's becoming one of my new favorite robots. Obviously it's been around for quite a while, but the more I see it go, the more I see it evolve, the more I really, really am in, Camp Rotator as far as being able to rip people to shreds. And MadCatter has been impressing me a lot this year too, so that's not to take anything away from them either, but I think Rotator would have the advantage in their matchup. And then, Rotator versus Bronco, I'm going to continue on and say I think Rotator is going to take the win here. I really see them taking this whole bracket undefeated, ripping Bronco apart. I know Bronco's done a lot of prep for Tombstone, meaning they have attachments and pieces that they could very easily put on to go up against Rotator. But Rotator's invertible. Rotator is dangerous, right side up or upside down. Bronco is tall enough, I believe, that even if Rotator was flipped with a single disc configuration, they could still do some damage to it. And unless Bronco can get Rotator out of the arena fast, I see it being a pretty brutal fight and something that's going to hit Bronco really hard. So yeah, those are my predictions. This feels a bit weird. It's the first time in these prediction videos I've had to predict somebody winning multiple times in a row. Of course, we'll see it with the other bounty fight, which I'll do as a separate video. I know there's at least 2 more bounty fights, I think, to come. And then when we get into the round of 32, it may be, bringing that out a little more. But yeah, so let me know what your fight predictions are in the comments down below. I am super excited for this. Very curious to see how this goes, especially being on a separate streaming app. But hopefully that also means, I don't know what the rules of Discovery Plus are, but hopefully some of you guys who are not in the US, don't have easy access to watching BattleBots live, can maybe get in on this at the same time, the rest of the world is getting in on it. And, we can share the BattleBots destruction as one big global robot loving community, or robot hating if you just want to see them get torn to shreds. I don't know how we feel as a community about robots, since we're basically like dog fighters for machines. But yeah, so those are my predictions. I will see you soon with the other bounty hunter fight, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye.